Welcome everyone to the British Grand Prix here in 2022. We're at Silverstone, one of the most iconic tracks on the Formula One calendar. It's 22 degrees here in the sunny skies of Silverstone. So let's have a look at the track. It's a 5.891 kilometer circuit with 18 turns and 2 DRS zones, and there's a speed trap just before that harsh right-hander of turn 15. And we've seen in turn 9, one of the most iconic corners of the track, Cops, where Hamilton and Verstappen came together last year. So I'm going to hand it over to Jack Marshall for the grid.
Thank you, Sam. We had an amazing qualifying session yesterday with Charles Leclerc taking pole position. His Ferrari teammate Carlos Sainz right behind him, taking up the front row. That's great for Ferrari. With Perez P3, Norris P4, great performance from him. Verstappen, Hamilton P7, we have Russell, followed by Alonso, then his teammate Esteban Ocon. We have Ricciardo 10 and then 11 Magnussen, Zhou, Bottas and Tsunoda behind them. Kevin King, Vettel and Mick Schumacher with Gasly P18, Stroll and Albon. Rounding off the grid, back to you, Sam.
Yes, I believe we're about to go down to the grid just to have a look at the cars before they set off on their formation lap. Let's talk about Charles Leclerc. Four P2 finishes in the last 4 races. Incredible consistency from Charles Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc has had the drive. He has gone race after race, and he's just performed. He is now 91 points, third in the championship, which is great for him, seeing last year Ferrari had dropped off a bit and fighting for third position in the Constructors' Championships, now locking out the grid in Silverstone. Pretty good achievement for them.
Yeah, 1-2 for Ferrari. I believe they had the 1-2 at the start of the season, but yeah, 1-2 once again here in Silverstone, a track where Ferrari has always shown that they're strong. They're always passing those mid-speed corners. And I believe, this is Kevin King. We're just taking a look at him. I want to keep talking about Kevin King. I know we talk about him a lot, but he's had an incredible rookie season. He's got I don't know exactly how many points, but he's got several points, I think, already.
Yes, he has had some great performances. As if you remember back to Imola, he absolutely stormed it on the first corner. He had a great performance, overtaking many cars in that first lap. He has been the golden boy of starts. He's just had a great start of this season for a rookie.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that start at Imola. That was an incredible start. Just going around the outside of several people, but we're here for the 5 red lights of the British Grand Prix in 2022. It's lights out and away we go. Charles Leclerc getting a good start. Carlos Sainz going over to cover off him, his teammate and Lando Norris behind him. Perez going around the outside of Carlos Sainz and he's going to try and make it stick. And Charles Leclerc staying in the lead of the British Grand Prix. And there's an incident in Sector 1, I believe, between the Hasses and the Williams, I think. But that's a good start from Charles Leclerc. A great start from Sergio Perez jumping Carlos Sainz. And we're now looking at Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon. Fernando Alonso in P8.
Yes, this is great from all of them. Lando Norris, I want to point him out. He is struggling. He's not got as good of a car as the rest of the people, and he's managed to stay in fourth. Perez again, getting that position. That was an amazing overtake from him. He really wants to get that position. And here we got Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, fighting it out. Max Verstappen is screeching ahead of Lando Norris, but will they go? They're going side by side in the corners, side by side once again. Max Verstappen is eking out here. He's on the inside, but Norris gets a better exit. He's going past that. It's a great defense by Lando Norris. They were sticking side by side for so many corners. Here we go. Max Verstappen going again on Lando Norris. I think he may get this overtake, but Lando Norris is fighting back. Fighting, but Max Verstappen sticks it ahead. That is a great from the Dutch driver. As we see behind me, you see the 2 Mercedes fighting it out, but I believe they stayed in their positions. Back to you, sir.
Yeah, incredible defending from Lando Norris against the much faster Red Bull of Max Verstappen, who's now free to chase after Carlos Sainz and his teammate Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc leading the race. And we're now following on board with Max Verstappen, but that was Mick Schumacher, I think, pitting. So potentially, here you go, Kevin King and Mick Schumacher coming together. That was the incident we saw in the yellow flag, I think, at the start of the race there. But yeah, Mick Schumacher obviously had too much damage. He had to pit And I believe we're going to now watch the replay. Yes, this is Mick Schumacher at the start of the race, starting just behind his good friend Sebastian Vettel. And he gets an okay start. Vettel gets a better start. He's got about the same as I believe this is King next to him, and he just tries to go around the outside, and King tries to shut him out, but there was just that gap was just disappearing faster than he could react to it. But yeah, I think that's just a bit unfortunate on both ends.
Yes, we receive from the FAA no further investigation necessary, so no penalties will be handed out there. I feel like they've looked at both the drivers and said, I think they both have stuff enough. Kevin King being spun out there. He's now in 19th place with Mick Schumacher pitting, who is now in 20th.
Well, what happened? Let me know you're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, you've got a lot of rear wing damage. The car's going to be very difficult to drive in these conditions. Just be careful. The underbody's taken some damage. Expect some significant impact to performance, I'm afraid.
It's damage for Kevin King, and that's irreparable wing damage and floor damage, because obviously you can only change your front wing in the race. But yeah, that's bad news for Kevin King. He's going to be hampered by that all race long.
Yes, and so Mick Schumacher's switching to the mediums, but here we have Lando Norris and George Russell fighting out. George Russell's right behind Lando Norris. He tried to look down the inside, but wasn't able to make it. Lewis Hamilton is looking at his teammate, thinking maybe I can take advantage of this kind of mishap. But George Russell is right behind Lando, right behind him, sneaking up, but he's not able to get close enough. He'll be looking for the next DRS corners. DRS will soon be activated, if it's not activated already. And he's going around sneaking behind those corners, Sam. Once DRS is activated, it's anyone's game.
Yeah, and I believe, DRS is open on this lap, and George Russell has DRS on Lando Norris, and he's going to try and go down the inside through turn 15, and he's going to make the move stick. There was not quite a lot Lando Norris could do there against the faster Mercedes. But still, good defending from Lando Norris and keeping good position. He's ahead of both Alpines, which is good for their fight from the Alpine versus McLaren fight.
And now Lando Norris will be looking at Lewis Hamilton behind him. Lewis Hamilton, an amazing driver, 6-time world champion. And I mean, Lando will be thinking, am I fighting Lewis Hamilton? Fernando Alonso is behind him, only 0.4 behind. Is Lando's wheel better with Fernando? It'll be up to him. We'll see how hard he fights Lewis behind him.
Yeah, we'll see how Lando handles that pressure. He's got 9 world championships behind him of Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, just creeping up behind Lewis Hamilton there. But I think Lando is going to try and stick with George Russell just to try and pull him along. We're following along with Lando Norris now. But yeah, we want to try and see if Lando's probably just going to try and stick with George Russell, use the DRS to help pull him along the straights. And I think he's just going to try and use George to just pull him away from Lewis and Fernando and the rest of the grid.
Indeed. So we have currently 4th lap of the race with Charles Leclerc staying in the lead, remaining on pole with Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz behind him, and it is just an amazing race. Carlos Sainz will be only about 4 tenths behind. He'll be looking to take back that position from Sainz. Here we see Lando Norris with DRS, but he doesn't manage to make it. I mean, the Mercedes is just that much quicker than the McLaren this season.
Yeah, we've seen even though Mercedes, they're not in the position they want to be since after fighting for the World Championship and getting the Constructors Championship, they're just barely missing out on that on the Drivers' Championship. They're not where they want to be in terms of pace right now, but they're still one of the fastest cars on the grid, and I think they're going to try and use that to their advantage here.
Certainly. I mean, George Russell will probably want to be keeping his teammate Lewis Hamilton in the fight. He is 1.6 seconds away from Max Verstappen, so he won't be getting DRS. But Max Verstappen will be trying to catch Carlos Sainz. We have seen Lando Norris is getting closer and closer. He's now 0.3 behind. George Russell getting closer and closer every lap. I think the DRS is definitely helping him get there. He's just using that DRS to pull him along and just keep going. Certainly, and we also have, look at the rest of the grid. Kevin King and Mick Schumacher have been left behind, but let's look at Daniel Ricciardo. He dropped down to 11. Kevin Magnussen managed to get him in the opening lap, and we also see stuff like Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon managed to keep their places in the points position, which will be crucial points for them.
Yes, and I think Perez is catching Charles Leclerc. And I believe Leclerc coming into the pits. So as I've just said that, Leclerc is coming into the pits potentially to fit those medium tires, and he's going to try and undercut Perez to try and keep ahead of him, and to try and keep on the and to try and use that tire advantage, and just try and push his tires on his outlap to try and get ahead of Sergio Perez.
Charles Leclerc being the only one of the front runners to pit. We can also see Kevin Magnussen and Bottas. Also Fernando Alonso also pitting. So of the top 3 teams, only it was Charles Leclerc to pit. I feel like that's an interesting strategy from Ferrari, with Red Bull and Mercedes not favouring that kind of early pit.
Yeah, no. Normally Red Bull's the one that tries to undercut everyone, but maybe Ferrari's trying to use their own strategy against them to try and force them to try and push their tires at the end of the stint, and to try and push their tires and just overwear their tires, just to try and stay ahead of Charles Leclerc.
Here we see Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris fighting. Lewis Hamilton managed to go to the inside. He's now side by side with Lando, and here they go through the corners. Lando sticking ahead, but Lewis is coming back at him, and Lando managed to pull ahead, gets the better exit around the outside, and he keeps Hamilton behind him. But here we go back down a DRS straight, is it? With Lewis Hamilton going down the inside. Lando Norris sticking down the outside. Will Lewis Hamilton pull it through? Lewis Hamilton is pushing it, but Lando Norris is on the inside of the chicane, and he manages to stick ahead. That is great from Norris, great from McLaren.
Yeah, an incredible defending from Lando Norris to keep the 7-time World Championship behind him. And that's now more runners pitting. I believe Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz have now pitted, as is Lewis Hamilton. And who else is pitted? A lot. Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Ocon, Zhou, Stroll, Albon. They're all pitting. They're all trying to. So I think Charles Leclerc was just trying to undercut everyone to see where he's going to come out, and I think we're going to see it now. And he's going to come out, I think, what is that, behind Carlos Sainz? Yeah, and I think Sergio Perez, in fact, now that we know that Charles Leclerc has only just got ahead of Sergio Perez, of Carlos Sainz, sorry, and Sergio Perez was ahead of him, maybe Ferrari have thrown this win away today, or potentially they're going to try and use Red Bull's cold tires to try and push Charles Leclerc through Perez on his warmed up tires when Perez comes out of the pits.
Yes, I would like to point out Sebastian Vettel in 4th. I know he hasn't pitted yet, but it just seems very interesting to see the Aston Martin Green in 4th place.
Yeah, it's not often we don't really see that Aston Martin up right at the front of the pack. Obviously, Vettel got technically one podium last year, but he finished on the podium twice. But unfortunately had that penalty at the Hungaro ring. But yeah, still great from Sebastian Vettel.
Yes, so we are following Charles Leclerc, who is currently in the lead. He is the leading person who has pitted so far. 4 people, Perez, Russell, Norris and Vettel, have not pitted. They remain on the soft tyres that they started this race on. Here we start to see them pitting. All but Sergio Perez of the top 3 have pitted. Now Sergio Perez has pitted.
And Charles Leclerc has jumped in. So
Charles Leclerc has jumped in, and it seems that Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz in the lead. Carlos Sainz, he has taken P2 back in the pits. That was a good strategy by Ferrari. Pitting early seems to have worked. The undercut for Ferrari has succeeded in this regard. This is amazing. I feel like Ferrari will be celebrating. Only 5 laps to go, and Perez has to push his new medium tyres that have not been warmed up yet to try and overtake Carlos.
Yeah, that's we've seen a couple of interesting strategies from Ferrari, but they've made a very good move, a very good strategy this time around. Carlos Sainz losing the position to Perez, but actually gaining it back through the pit stops, and that's now given Ferrari their 1-2 back, and I think they're just going to want to try and hold that and just keep keep those Ferraris where they are, just try and get Sainz to defend against Perez. And if he does get past, I'm sure Sainz will use the DRS straights and the corners to just push Perez to try and get him back and try and get that Ferrari 1-2.
Yes, indeed. I feel like Perez will definitely, he's got the newer tyres than the two Ferraris. Charles Leclerc pitted a lot earlier than everyone else, so his tyres will be starting to drop off. Carlos Sainz's tyres might be starting to drop off a bit, and Perez will have the advantage in the last lap, but only slight. So he'll have to use every bit of his rubber to try and get ahead of those two red Ferraris that are in front of him, blocking his way. And also maybe Max Verstappen, maybe wanting to push to capitalize on that, get a podium for himself.
Yeah, potentially Perez and Sainz's fighting could potentially invite Max Verstappen to join the party and just slip right through into P2 past both of them and potentially get that podium to keep his lead in the championship. 34 points ahead of Perez, I believe. So he's going to want to try and get that podium, because this will put a dent in his championship lead. Leclerc will get 25 points, which brings him from 91 to 116, if my maths is right.
Yes, I believe it is. Plus, it'll be up to fastest lap as well. We're not entirely sure he's got the fastest lap here, but that will definitely play those single points in the Constructors' Championship particularly will be important, as Ferrari and Mercedes are in a close battle for that second place in the Constructors, and this will really help Ferrari out in that intense battle between the two teams.
Yeah, and as we're saying that, Daniel Ricciardo, while we're talking about the Ferrari and Mercedes fight, let's talk about the Alpine and McLaren fight. Daniel Ricciardo getting back ahead of Kevin Magnussen, getting back into P10, getting that at least one crucial point to try and get back at Alpine, just to try and keep them at bay and try and keep McLaren in the lead. They are currently 5 points ahead of Alpine in the standings, and they're going to get Alpine will get 6 points, and I believe McLaren will get 7, because I believe 7th place gives you 6 points. So yes, McLaren, I think if they stay how they are, if the positions don't change anymore, McLaren will very slightly extend their lead against Alpine.
Yes, I mean, Kevin Magnussen behind, he was in the points and now he's 11th. For teams like Haas, that 1 point is the difference in some races between being 8th and being 9th.
Yeah.
It is those crucial margins, and those points really matter for those midfield teams such as Haas, such as Alfa Romeo and Alpha Tauri. I mean, he'll be really pushing. He's 4 tenths behind, 3 laps to go. He will be using all his DRS, all his traction his rubber can give him to try and push to get past Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, and I believe that will be crucial for Haas as well, since Magnussen just ahead of both Alfa Romeos, and Haas 1 point ahead of Alfa Romeo in the standings. So you're saying 1 point makes all the difference. That 1 point could turn their 1 point lead into a 2 point lead, when you've got 10 and 11 points, that makes so much more difference than if it's 148 and 151 for Ferrari and Mercedes.
Yes, and here we are following Carlos Sainz, who's following his leader, the leader Charles Leclerc, his teammate. He's 5 tenths behind, with Sergio Perez 4 tenths behind him. Sergio Perez teammate Max Verstappen 2 seconds behind, so he is mostly out of this podium fight. Here we see Carlos Sainz, he's now 2 seconds behind. He is closing in on his teammate. How long do you think before he can make a move, Sam?
I think he's going to try and make a move on this straight. We go through Maggots and Beckett's tight and twisty section of Silverstone here. Very tricky, going down the gears one at a time, one in a corner. And I believe, he's going to get the DRS down the straight, so I believe he's going to try and have a go at Charles Leclerc towards turn 15, and he's going to go around the outside, but Charles Leclerc covering him off. He's going to defend the outside. Carlos Sainz goes round the outside, and he doesn't make the move stick. Incredible defending from Charles Leclerc, but bold move from Carlos Sainz, and that's invited Perez right up the tail of Carlos Sainz's Ferrari there. But bold move from Carlos Sainz. He almost made it stick, but Charles Leclerc was having none of it.
Yes, I mean, this is an absolutely intense fight. Only 2 laps to go in this British Grand Prix. Who will win? Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz or Perez? There was only tenths of a second between them. This is absolutely thrilling. Will Carlos Sainz take his teammate to get a position? Will Sergio Perez jump either of them to gain places in that podium? Only time will tell.
Yeah, only time will tell, and Carlos Sainz still getting DRS on Charles Leclerc, and I think he's going to have a go again as we go around Luffield towards Copse, around this long straight. No DRS along this straight, but DRS on the next straight. But yeah, I'm on every time I look at Copse, it gives me flashbacks to last year with Hamilton and Verstappen. That 51G crash. It's incredible that Max was able to survive that and come out okay and come back to win the championship. So, yeah, I believe Carlos Sainz...
Meanwhile, his teammate Sergio Perez is right behind. He's definitely looking. If Carlos Sainz isn't getting DRS, I feel like Sergio Perez will be trying to overtake him, but that DRS is helping. He's saving Carlos Sainz, and he managed to stick it for one more lap. It's only one more lap to go in this British Grand Prix. It's going down to the wire. 1 lap to go. It's a 1-lap shootout. Here we see Carlos Sainz. Here we see Charles Leclerc. Here we see Sergio Perez, who will get that top spot. Charles Leclerc is in the lead, but it is only... anything can happen in those final corners. They can push, they can push, they can push. Try and get all out of those tyres. Charles Leclerc on the older tyres. Sainz, a bit younger, but then Perez, the youngest tyres of them all. I don't know who is the better traction here. What do you think of their cornering speed and the straight line speed, Sam?
I'm thinking that Perez, I think, has a little bit better straight line speed than the Ferraris. But I think Charles Leclerc just trying to push us all through those corners we're seeing him go around Luffield. Yeah, I think those Ferraris will just be trying to push as hard as they can. On the last lap, we're seeing 3 cars fighting for the race win. You don't often see this in Formula One, but when you do, is it a miracle to behold? Is this a spectacle to behold? Charles Leclerc going around Maggots and Beckett's, coming down the final back straight. We're going to see Carlos Sainz going to see if he can try and make the move stick on Charles Leclerc. And he's 3/10 back. I don't know if he's going to make the move stick, and I think that will be good news for Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz thinks about going to the inside, thinks against it. Charles Leclerc rounds the final few corners. He's led almost every single lap of this Grand Prix. It's his first win in 2022. It's his 3rd in his career, and it's his 3rd with Ferrari. Charles Leclerc wins the British Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz comes second.
Let's go! Let's go! Come on!
Incredible race from Charles Leclerc. He led pretty much start to finish, apart from the pit stops, but, you know, he absolutely dominated this race. Incredible defending from Carlos Sainz, from his teammate, and against Sergio Perez, who just gives him a good old handshake there. But incredible stuff from Charles Leclerc there.
Incredible stuff. He has been P2 in many of the past races. He's been P2 pretty much every race this season. Been looking at the tail of first place. This time, he is that tail. He has won the Silverstone. He has won the British Grand Prix. It's amazing for the Monegasque driver.
Yeah, that's got to be good news for Charles Leclerc. He's 3rd in the championship. I think that means he'll be inching closer to Sergio Perez. He's gained 10 points on him, which I believe means he's only 1 point behind him now. But yeah, that's Charles Leclerc's gonna love that, and you can see the smile on his face as the celebrations start. 1-2 for Ferrari. That's incredible stuff for them in the Constructors' Championship. They're going to gain another 40 points or so against Red Bull, who only gain about 27, I think it was. But yeah, that's Charles Leclerc winning the British Grand Prix, with Carlos Sainz coming second, Perez and Verstappen rounding off the top 3 and 4, Mercedes 5-6 of Russell and Hamilton, Lando Norris coming 7th, the 2 Alpines of Alonso and Ocon, and Daniel Ricciardo rounding off the top 10. What a great race we've had here in Silverstone. And what a great race for Charles Leclerc. His first win of the season, his 3rd win with the Scarlet Ferraris, and that's Max Verstappen still in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, but that lead is slimming, and Charles Leclerc just 1 point behind Sergio Perez. He's going to try and push us all through the next couple races to try and get into second place, and then hopefully try and chase after Max Verstappen for that elusive World Drivers' Championship. And we're now seeing Red Bull extending their, I believe extending their lead. Well, not quite extending their lead, because Ferrari have caught up to them, but Red Bull Racing now at 266 points. You know, only potentially they could within the next, I think on next weekend, if they get a 1-2, they could crack the 300 barrier. But that's great news for Red Bull and for Charles Leclerc. And we hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button, hit that bell, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next time.